production.
What's poppin'? Let's get into this Wonderfi breakdown here. So something here I find interesting. First, actually, before we get into it, if you haven't seen my bullish thesis on Wonderfi, I highly recommend you take a look. I break down my thoughts, all the fundamentals about the company, and then the technical analysis that relates to why I think it's worth investing in. It's about a 16-minute video. It goes into deep detail, highlighting many different things about the stock. So I highly recommend taking a look at that. It was posted probably just a few months back in like November. So here, we're going to get into it now. What we have here is Wonderfi, okay? This is going to be a technical analysis breakdown. This trend line here, we've been holding it as resistance for many months, right? Since June, it's been holding us back. And what we have here is a very clean breakout. Now we'll zoom in, right, to the 2-day just to get a quick example, but we have multiple rejections of this trend line. Now, for those of you who don't know, Wonderfi, essentially under their umbrella, they have two cryptocurrency exchanges, Coinberry and BitBuy. And they're both regulated by the Canadian Security Exchange, CSA, and they have other regulations. Now, I think that's huge because regulation, especially for exchanges, especially, what just happened with FTX, this is huge in this space. And I think that moving forward, we're going to be looking for a lot more regulatory procedures when it comes to exchanges and the cryptocurrencies, right? So I think that's huge. I think they're trying to be a leader in the space, trying to get the legal parameters all figured out to make it safe for investors. Now, when we're looking at this breakout, right, what we see here is a clean move to the upside followed by a volume climax. This trend line has been holding us back for a long time, was a support, then turned into resistance and acted as resistance for months. This breakout is huge. It's important. What I think it indicates is that there's institutional buying going on around here. Now, something that's important to note out is the news that just came out about Wonderfi making a potential merger with CoinSquare. So I'm going to pull this up here. You could follow this link up here or type it in. I'm sure CoinSquare, Wonderfi, and merger talks. I'm sure you'll find the video. But essentially why I think that's important is because these two companies, if they merger, will create the largest crypto exchange in Canada. And I think that moving forward can be very important, right? Right now, Wonderfi is the second largest. I think CoinSquare might be the first, but you add these two together, they'll be a massive company. So what we're looking at here at this volume climax, what is a volume climax? So essentially think of it like this. There's a major supply zone right around this area, right? So it's, if you just scroll a little bit back and you point out this zone, right? It's a major supply zone. So of course, around this 41 cent range, there is way more outstanding shares than there are people buying. So what happens is we get this accumulation of buyers down here, and then with potentially some news that comes out, we get the rampant extensive buying where people are driving the price of the stock way higher. The demand outmeets the supply at these levels at like 16 cents, 13 cents, 18 cents, 20 cents, and the price gets driven higher. What happens here is once we reach this supply, the people down here are going to start taking gains, and then we run out of buyers in this range, which means we create this wick. And this wick, what this indicates is there's a potential, or there's a short-term top in this market here. This is the new level that we're going to have to break down, and it might take a long time. So it's important to, why I think this is all bullish though, is because it's going to take time. This isn't just going to moon up to $3. What we need to see is we need to see a base form, and we want to see a higher low come into this. Whether that higher low is around 20 cents, we don't know. But what we want to see is something like this happen, where over time we develop an accumulation zone and we slowly get closer and closer to this 41 cent range creating higher lows into that zone. We will then eventually break that zone, and when that happens, this will be our new support. Right now it's resistance, but eventually what we'll see is maybe a base form where we get these higher lows getting made into this area, and then we break above it, and then we retest that zone to make sure it acts as resistance. Now, this is huge. You see this, and it's important. Now, oopsie, we might see a drawdown, or we might want to retest this trend line. There's multiple different ways that this could turn out and look, but the most important thing is that Bitcoin, one, is driving in price. Could a potential market bottom be put in? You have to start considering these things, because if that is the case, Wonderfi being a market leader in the Canadian cryptocurrency sector, this will be a name that will be outperform drastically, especially it being at such a low price. It's more attractive to investors. I wouldn't sleep on the name. I go into deeper detail in the full-on breakdown on the general thesis. But overall, this is exciting. What we want to see now is an accumulation in this range from 41 cents to around 20 cents. It's going to take some time. This isn't just going to moon. Let's take a look at DeFi, for example. When we look at this and we scroll back here, we have this major trend line we break above, but then look, it revisits this higher low months later, right? So we get the breakout in August, September, it comes back into that range, right? It comes back into that range later in January 2022. This here takes time. Do I think something like this could happen with Wonderfi? Sure, but I'm more leaning towards a longer base being created where it takes a long time of accumulating shares down in this range, because that would show more health in the stock, in my opinion, than if we were to just ramp up right away. Because what follows after a ramp up is a ramp down. So what we want to see is a solid base of demand being developed in this massive accumulation area that could be in the next few months. This is what we want to look for, this range. We want to see a lot of price action. So that there is the breakdown for Wonderfi. Cheers, guys.